Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown, Dunkirk, and Westfield, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County.
The Chautauqua Center.
Are you looking for affordable medical, dental, or counseling services? The Chautauqua Center is always accepting new patients at their Jamestown and Dunkirk locations. They offer discounted prescriptions and accept all insurances. From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Hey everybody, good morning and happy Saturday to all of you. Today is the first day of summer, believe it or not. I have been enjoying the weather and the sunshine. My garden is going nuts, and just, it's unbelievable. If this is your first time living in Chautauqua County, you picked a great year to join us. It's unbelievable. I got a picture here that I want to show you that I took of the sunset a couple nights ago, and if you don't ever get a chance, just take a look at that. That's from my home up on the escarpment in Ripley. You might say, oh, what's the big deal? For those that can't see it right now, they're listening on the radio, this is looking at the sun setting on Lake Erie. It looks like the ocean, and it's just vibrant reds and purples and oranges and peaches. And boy, I'll just tell you, it's just great living in Chautauqua County, especially along the lakeshore. Thanks, Jeff, for that. All right, so anyways, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels, and you are watching us maybe on channel 1301 on Spectrum. You might be watching us live streaming somewhere, anywhere in the world. Hello. You might be listening to us later on in the week on WRFA 107.9, low power to the people, at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays. And thanks for joining us and listening. Always glad to have our listeners from the Jamestown area or anywhere else in that region. I guess they go into Asheville, Bemis, up in that region. So thanks for joining us. We got a great show in store for you. We're going to be talking a lot about, well, I'm not going to tell you yet. We're going to get to it. Give you a little teaser there. Hope you're doing well. We're getting through this pandemic thing little by little. I know that New York State is loosening up a little bit at a time. And we did something we hadn't done like in 3 months. We actually ate in a restaurant yesterday. It was kind of unusual, having a waitress look like she's going to hold you up. But everybody's doing their part, especially in Chautauqua County. I mean, it's pretty obvious the numbers are pretty low compared to most regions. And when you look at things that are coming out in reports from different parts of the world, different parts of the country, you know, we're holding all right. So keep those masks on and sanitizing, and we're going to be safe as much as we possibly can. Hey, during the show, since we are live, you can give us a call at 716-753-5225, and you can tell us maybe about somebody's birthday. It could be anniversary. It could be your club or organization's event that finally you can schedule or something along these lines. Or you might just have a question for myself or our guest today. And if you don't feel comfortable in talking to us live, we've got a wonderful person called Randy in the other room. He picks up the phone and usually doesn't lose the calls. And he'll take a message and write it down and bring it in. We'll get to it. Okay, not a problem. You can Twitter us. You can email us throughout the week if you have a question. Happy to hear from you. Okay, so first day of summer, 70-some degrees out there. Awesome. So the last week or so, I've been riding my bike all over the place because it's just been great in the morning. And, you know, wildlife is really, really interesting right now. I was going up towards Westfield, up on the Forsyth Bridge, and I looked up. I know it seems hard to believe, Justin, because you don't maybe see this in the city. I saw two little baby foxes. They're called kits, playing on the shoulder of the road, just like two kittens. They were just having a ball, and shot a picture of them. What's that?
We get skunks.
You get skunks. Well, of course, the tarp skunks. Okay, well, anyways, then yesterday I walked across the kitchen and I looked out the window and there's a turkey staring at me. I go, where'd you come from? Not a flock, just one turkey. So I don't know, maybe the moms are kicking the little ones out of the nest. I don't know what's going on. But say it for November. Okay, just for you. Okay, I'll tag it. And then Emerald, on our way to the studio last couple of days, we had a deer running out in front of us, squirrels, all kinds of animals. So it's the birds are going crazy at my house. I don't know about yours, but they're eating us out of house and home with the bird seed and suet. And Baltimore Orioles love grape jelly. So if you have one of those dispensers, they go nuts for that. Did you? Okay. I can hear you, Jeff. You're okay. We're carrying a conversation on here in my earpiece. Thank you. All right. And then, hey, for those of you that are of the Mediterranean persuasion, I did something I haven't done in years. A lot of people don't know I'm part Sicilian. I know I don't look that necessarily, but my grandmother was full-blooded Sicilian. And she used to get my brother and I to hop the old railroad fence and go down and pick what Sicilians lovingly refer to as carduna, which is really burdocks. But if you get the stems off of them and you boil them down and you fry them up, it's like unbelievable. So I had to pay homage to my grandmother this week, so I actually made carduna. So for those of you that are interested, it's a good time to be picking carduna. Lots of fun. Hey, over in, let's see, Erie, Pennsylvania, congratulations. They finally reopened you guys. I know there was a lot of stressors over there, and one of our underwriters in the past, Bella Salon and Day Spa, is happy to let me know that they're reopening next Friday. So good for you guys. A lot of the restaurants are opening, and I don't know about you, but doing takeout is fine until you get it home and it's all soggy. Glad that we can start eating in some of the restaurants again, so that's great. And then finally, it's Father's Day tomorrow. They said, we're going to have burgers and hot dogs. I go, what do you mean? You know, for Mother's Day, you do something really spectacular. I said, what about lobster or steaks or something? So I put my order in, we'll see. Okay, well, for those dads and pops and grandpas and all that, father-in-laws, happy Father's Day, and I hope you're going to enjoy your day. Okay, I have a few announcements to get to, and then my guest is waiting very patiently in the wings here to come on, and we're going to be talking about your body and how it works and how to take good care of it, and if you don't take good care of it, what you do to fix it. Okay, so stay tuned. All right, we got a slide from the Westfield Memorial Hospital Foundation. They're the folks that raise money, and they just have a little bit of a thing here that they wanted to mention. Okay, so let me just read it. It says, the Allegheny Health Network, Westfield Memorial Hospital caregivers provide medical care for patients during this challenging time. The local community has supported their efforts with numerous donations of food, supplies, and unparalleled kindness scattered throughout a number of front lawns in the AHN Westfield Memorial Hospital service area are yard signs which read, "Thank you, Westfield Memorial Hospital and Emergency Medical Service folks, EMS guys and gals," donated by the Westfield Memorial Hospital Board Chair Helen Barron. This expression of gratitude is a nod from the community for its essential hospitals, healthcare workers, and emergency medical services. Many community members and businesses have rallied together to stand behind the ones who stand on the front lines as the county begins to make plans to cautiously reopen its economy. So congratulations to everybody that's been working hard and providing all those services that we really need. I know my Rotary Club, we supplied face masks and some hand sanitizer to the hospital. So congratulations to the Westfield Memorial Hospital crew. They're doing a great job. All right, let's keep on moving along here. Okay, from the Chamber of Commerce, got a few things to mention. It says Phase 3 open for business. Western New York has moved into Phase 3 of New York Forward Plan. Okay, this is what it stands for, I guess. Allowing restaurants to serve indoors at 50% of capacity and personal service businesses to reopen, such as massage therapy, spa services, tanning businesses, manicures and pedicure services, and tattoo piercing services. Emerald, good news. Now you can get that tat of your dog that you've been wanting to do. Okay. Not. Okay, so again, to remind everybody, wear the mask, follow the rules. Everybody's posting these things on their doors. Don't give them a hard time. They're following the rules. Now, you know, I've heard rumors and I've heard things, I don't know, you know, exactly all the details, but some businesses opened when they shouldn't have. They've gotten fined, they've lost their licenses, they're getting into big trouble. Those that are following the rules are hanging in there, and now they're reopened and all should be well again, little by little. So hang in there. All right, the Chamber staff, for those of your Chamber of Commerce members, they want you to know that their hours have been trimmed. They're going to be part-time, responding to your needs as a member, investor in the Chautauqua County Chamber of Commerce and Manufacturers Association. It still remains a top priority to them to give good services. Given the financial challenges posed by COVID-19, we've made some staff scheduling adjustments through June and July in an effort to reduce our costs. Office hours in Jamestown will be by appointment only. Our Dunkirk office remains closed as part of the Jamestown Community College campus closure. They'll respond as quickly as possible to any of your calls and emails. Because their staff will be working part-time, there may be a delay in getting back to you. We ask for your patience, they do. Contact information remains available on Contact Our Team page or the website. You can always give them a call at 366-6200 or 484-1101. All right. Chautauqua Institution has been nominated for USA Today's Best Small Town Cultural Scene, and all local people are encouraged to vote, just like we did for Fredonia, or like we did for the Comedy Center. And they got great accolades and got elected and voted into these various areas and got some money and all good stuff and lots of attention. You can vote daily through June 29th, running out of time, 9 more days, by visiting vote.chq.org. You can also sign up for daily reminders to vote. Okay, so again, this is very similar to the Small Business Revolution that Fredonia won and the National Comedy Center that they won for the USA Today Best New Museum. So support Chautauqua. Let's see what else I got here. Okay, there's a little piece of information here over the Patterson Library in Westfield. They've got a virtual exhibition. It's a virtual tour of the NSAA artist, and it's running from June 12th through July 3rd for another week or two. They're currently experiencing a revolution in the way we all consume art, and while we miss the actual ability to touch and feel and be in person at the Octagon Gallery, they put together this virtual tour. So if you want to have a look, you go to Patterson Library, all one word, .info/the virtual gallery, okay? And we had a little look at it last week, and there was lots of good stuff And that's from Nancy Nixon Ensign, who's the curator. So Nancy, good on you guys for taking up technology and using it to the best of your ability. All right, let's see what else I got here. I skip around sometimes. Let's go to slide 16, Jeff. Family and Caregiver Support Group, okay? This is going to be held on July 9, July 23rd, and this is from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. The purpose of this project is to provide a welcoming environment for parents, family members, and other caregivers of individuals with developmental disabilities to meet, share experiences, ask questions, and receive support. Especially in the days that we're living right now, everybody, it seems like we're holed up in our homes. We haven't been able to see people, talk to people as much as we want. And folks that have children with disabilities or young adults, this might be an opportunity to talk a little bit about how you're feeling. Do you want to reduce your conflict, have better relationships, help your children manage their own behaviors? You need PAX tools, P-A-X tools. Not sure what that is, but it's a program is designed. Let's see what it says here. PAX tools is a collection of evidence-based, trauma-informed strategies to improve cooperation and self-regulation with youth. PAX, ooh, I can't talk. PAX, P-A-X tools, draws on decades of science to create strategies that support parents, youth workers, and other caring adults to create a nurturing environment that ultimately helps kids thrive. It's a Zoom meeting, so it's real easy to do. Okay, you link right off their Facebook page. Okay, if you're interested, give them a call at 332-4170. Or you can go to information at Parent Network New York. So that Parent Network New York is all one word, but it's not network spelled out as WNY, so parentnetworkwny.org. Okay? And that's for your information. All right, let's see here. One more thing. Prevention Works, who sends in lots of information from time to time, they had a Chevette's barbecue that was supposed to be on June 23rd, and now will take place on August 5th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Chautauqua Mall parking lot over on Fairmont Avenue in Lakewood. And then they're going to have the North County barbecue will take place on August 27th, later in the summer, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Econo Lodge in Fredonia. So if you're interested and want more information on that, give them a call. This is Prevention Works now, 664-3608 or 366-4623. So I'm going to take a breather. We'll be right back and have a look at this.
I am a nurse,
a firefighter,
a college student,
a mother,
and I am an American soldier.
I will always be ready
for every storm
and disaster that threatens my community.
I will always be there to protect my neighbors,
my family,
and my country.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
Visit nationalguard.com to learn more about part-time service.
Okay, so I'm back. I'm Doc Hamels, and you're watching Chautauqua Sunrise. Don't forget, you can always give us a call at 753-5225 if you want to give us a call or have a question. And if you're watching streaming, please drop us a little note. Let us know where you're from. We have pins that we put on our maps behind me that makes it really cool. Okay, so let me frame the discussion here this morning, and then we're going to get to my guest. All right. With the pandemic, many of us are being isolated. Many services were shut down. No brainer, everybody knows this. But is right. We are still figuring out how this affects our lives. We haven't realized, I don't think fully, the scope of how this pandemic has infiltrated every aspect of government, of our daily lives, business, the economy, you name it. And we forget that before this pandemic came along, people were getting certain kinds of services, dental, salons, personal services, exercise, whatever it is. But there's also the medical side of it, that where people were normally going for particular therapies, and that got closed up or was limited. And this is really important stuff. So a while back, I believe her last name is Gorky, Judy Gorky, called me, and she called in and she says, "Hey, we're still open," and so on. And we were talking about the services that her agency provides, And her boss, the main guy, is here today. So I want to welcome Dr. Patrick Green, who is from, I want to get this right now so I don't goof it up, Chautauqua Physical and Occupational Therapy. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Thank you.
So can I call you Pat?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, Pat, welcome to the show. And this is all because of Judy. She
Yes,
contacted me. She said, I got to get Dr. Green on the show.
Judy's a very enthusiastic person, and she does a great job representing us and
Yeah.
getting our name out there in the world.
She called me during the week, and we went through the little bits and pieces. So we have her to thank. So Judy, if you're watching, good job. Okay, so Pat, there's lots of different therapies and things like that out there, and we'll get to that in a minute because I know some people get these intertwined and so forth. But tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you got into this field.
Sure. I am originally from Western New York. I grew up in the Buffalo area, and my wife and I, my wife is an occupational therapist. I'm a physical therapist, and we wanted to. We left the area for a few years and worked in rural Pennsylvania, and we wanted to get back to family in Western New York because we love it here.
Mm-hmm.
And so. In 1996, we opened up the Chautauqua Physical Therapy at that time, and so we were on Fairmont Avenue in Jamestown, West Ellicott area,
Mm-hmm.
and we have grown over the years, and we now have about 12 physical and occupational therapists and speech therapists that work in our Jamestown office. And we have an office in Mayville, and we're opening up a new office in Dunkirk on July 6th.
Nothing like stretching yourself.
Yeah. Opening up a practice during a pandemic is not something I would recommend for anybody, but it was something we've been planning for a couple years.
Great.
And so the opportunity is still there, and it's a service I think that will go very well, and because we have. Worked hard to get our name into the area, and so we have a lot of good relationships with the different referral sources and the communities, so I think we'll do well.
Okay, so if my math is right, you've been in the county about 24 years.
Correct.
Substantial.
Yeah.
I mean, you just didn't blow in.
Yeah.
So how did you get interested in this field to begin with? I mean, did you like little kids say, I want to be a physical therapist?
Actually, when I was going undergrad, I was at the University of Buffalo, and I was
UB. Okay.
Yeah, and I was an economics major, and
they go ahead, and I can see that. What? Economics?
And my girlfriend, who is my wife now, was an occupational therapy major, and so I was exposed a little bit to the field of therapies as I went through that, and I played basketball, and I got hurt a few times, and so I got exposed a little bit to therapies as well. So that really kind of led me into this, and when I went initially into the world of banking, I realized it wasn't for me, and so I went back to school and I studied at Duval College up in Buffalo,
sure.
and got my master's in physical therapy, and along the way I went back and got my doctorate in physical therapy. So,
wow.
So that's being an athlete, being active, wanting to help people. Those are the things that led me that way.
You mentioned Duval. I have fond memories. I was a rocker, and we played there one night. It was a great place to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of people there.
Yeah.
So let's go with your experience as an athlete that piqued my interest. I watch football, and other sports on TV, and it's like I played a little football when I was a kid. I played baseball and things like that, and you start to wonder, what in the world are you doing? I mean, to your body. So what kind of injuries did you experience?
Well, actually, as I came in as a freshman, I tore a ligament in one ankle.
Oh my gosh.
In the beginning of a season, and as a freshman, and then at that point, the physicians that I dealt with were really not, they casted me and I got better, and they took the cast off in the middle of the tryouts for basketball in college, and I said, can I play? And they said, sure, go ahead. You can do whatever you want.
Holy mackerel.
And so there was one day in a cast, next day they said, go play.
Okay.
There was no therapy at that point in my life. And I didn't know any better. I was a freshman in college.
Yeah.
So I just went out and played, and my ankle swelled up, and I was limited. And so it kind of changed my whole perspective on how to get through that. And obviously, just running out and playing wasn't the best way to do that.
Right.
But so, you know, but being an athlete and working with athletes, you get the idea that they're willing to deal with some soreness, some pain, some things, but we try to help them learn the difference between, there's a difference between being sore and having some discomfort and playing with an injury.
Right.
So we try to educate them.
I'm sitting here and thinking probably many of the things we did as kids, we probably had some injuries that probably should have been treated, because later on you're walking around like stiff-legged or goofed up or bad back or something, and probably shouldn't have done what we did. Okay, so I said in the beginning of the show we're going to talk about various therapies. So let me set the table for you here. Okay, you said you're a physical therapist, and we're going to learn more about what that means here in a minute. You said your wife's an occupational therapist, and we can maybe just hear about what that means. Then I'd like to throw out there maybe chiropractor in the mix, because I'm sure people are a little confused. And you have an assistant with you here today, little thin on weight, but you have someone here. Does it have a name? Everybody has their pet names for these things.
Doesn't have a name. It's just I brought a spine with us that we essentially, I wanted to. I've spent a lot of my career working with low back patients and neck patients, and it's something that helps refer to the what we do, but we also treat shoulders and ankles and knees and post-surgical patients across the board. And as you mentioned before, Judy contacted you and said we are open, and we were considered essential during this whole pandemic. So we remained open.
Were you limited?
We limited ourselves because what we had to do is we weren't ready for the social distancing in our practice, and also we have a lot of high-risk patients. So with comorbidities, including high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, things like that. So we switched a majority of our caseload to telehealth, and we were able to provide telehealth services during the peak of this through the majority of our patients. And we have gradually moved back from that because we are hands-on providers. We put our hands on people, we mobilize the spine, we mobilize shoulders, and so telehealth is a good way to complement what we do, but it's not what we do. When we're teaching exercises, we do have to utilize our hands and get in close contact with our patients.
So during this pandemic now, what are the safety precautions or the sanitary precautions? I mean, I listed restaurants and salons and tanning booths and tattoo shops. What do you have to do to maintain your safety as well as your patients?
Sure, we've worked really hard at implementing all the CDC guidelines as well as the Chautauqua Department of Health. We've worked. We had 18 chairs in our waiting room in Jamestown. We have 5 chairs in our waiting room right now, so they're all 6 feet apart. Everybody's temperature is taken. All the employees, all the patients' temperatures are taken. The first thing our patients do when they come is they wash their hands. We are all masked. We don't allow guests in our waiting room. We ask if there's a driver that they wait in the car. We have separated our schedules, so our staff is coming in the morning and working till 1, and then there's another staff that comes in at 1, and so that way we can separate our patients, so we're not overlapping patients, and we can maintain social distance within the facility. We have a relatively big facility in Jamestown. We have 6,000 square feet, and so we're used to being very busy and we have had to modify that. And in Mayville, we have a smaller footprint, but we have less therapists, so it's relatively easy to maintain all these rules. And so,
do you have to wear gloves?
The problem with wearing gloves is if any surface you touch, you have to change your gloves, and you can't wash your gloves. And with hands, you can wash your hands. There are certain situations where we decide to use gloves. there's a couple. If everybody did that, we wouldn't have enough gloves for the healthcare professionals that are in the situation. As we know, through all this epidemic, we've had trouble with having enough PPE and enough of the masks and enough. And we are, all of our staff's wearing surgical masks. We expect our patients to either wear a mask or a face covering, and that's mandatory. So,
folks, that was a great summary of what one small group of people have to do day in, day out now during this pandemic. And so please don't give them a hard time wherever you go. Wear the mask. I know it's not necessarily the most comfortable thing in the world, but they're required. And tell me if I'm wrong, but if you don't follow these rules, you're in big trouble.
Sure,
right?
absolutely. We are licensed, we're licensed healthcare providers in New York State. So we're mandated by law to follow these guidelines, and it's important to us because I'm protecting my staff. We have I need them to be safe, and I need them not to spread it to other patients. I need our patients to maintain safety, and so we've worked hard at it. But our patients have been very respectful.
That's great. And I'm not trying to like preach to the choir here. But I've heard people talking out there that are grumbling about this, and I'm not going to do this, and blah 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 blah, and it's like nobody's trying to punish you. We're trying to keep safe.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, our county's done, I think, pretty well as a county keeping ourselves safe, and let's not have one of these major spikes like we've been seeing in other places.
I agree with you. The Department of Health in Chautauqua County has done an excellent job of educating the community and trying to do it. And we've had very few, initially a few people did grumble a little bit, but once they realize it's not punitive. We're not trying to punish anybody. We're just trying to keep people safe.
Okay.
And
so let's define some things. Define physical therapy. What is it?
Sure. Physical therapists treat musculoskeletal injuries. So, and also neurological injuries. We treat vertigo. We see patients that have had concussions, athletes. So we have a wide range of patients that we treat. And we specialize in exercise. We specialize in manual techniques, mobilization of a joint to help get that motion going back, as well as very specific exercise programs to help patients improve their balance, to help them improve their function so that they can walk on uneven surfaces, decrease the risk of falls, be independent in their home with stairs, things like that, as well as athletes who are trying to recover from an ACL or an ankle fracture or things like that. And like in my case, tearing ligaments in my ankle. I ended up doing that 2 or 3 times over my career. So I've become an ankle expert. But over most of my career, I've treated back and neck injuries, and so we see a lot of our practice is focused because it's such a common problem. Low back pain, 80% of the population is going to suffer low back pain at some point in their life. And if you know how to address it quickly, those patients can do very well.
80% of us will have back pain. I'm in that 80%.
Yep.
So what are we doing wrong? What causes it? I mean, obviously there's a million things, but what's the big culprit usually?
Well, I would say posture, and you just sat up straight in your chair, and I'm going to have to sit up a little straighter. But that's a common thing. Posture is really important. We have a natural backward curve in our low back, and that backward curve protects our discs. When we sit up nice and straight, we protect our discs. And a lot of times when we do things like gardening, I heard you mention your garden, when we're gardening, we're bent a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we bend 3,000 to 5,000 times a day, every day. And that puts a lot of pressure on the back of the discs. And then when they get irritated and they start to be an issue, then we sit in a slouched position. And that puts pressure on the back of the discs. And when you sit up straight, you protect that back. So that disc can kind of calm down and heal.
So it's sort of like a vicious cycle. If you overextend it, and then you use the wrong posture, you're not helping the case whatsoever.
Essentially, you're putting it in a poor position to heal. It's like having a cut on your knuckle and having it in a bent position. If you put it in a bent position, it's tough for it to heal, but if you keep it straight, you're putting it in a better position to heal. And a lot of times, people injure themselves a little bit doing their gardening or doing whatever that we do, bending, which is everything, and then they go sit in their recliner. And the recliner is not a good position.
Oh no, and they don't support the lower back at all. I found out. Oh, it kills me.
And so that's a big part, trying to educate people, because everybody's heard sit up straight. You need to educate, and that's one of the things as you're a therapist for a longer period of time, like I've been, you really learn that you're really a teacher. If you do a good job of educating your patients, teaching them what they're doing what they're doing that might be irritating them, and what they can do to help themselves. If they put those together, they really become very independent in their program. That's our goal with every one of our patients, that they don't need us.
So with the spine that we have here, maybe we can do a little close-up on it, Em. Can you walk us through, like, what are the parts that the 80% people are injuring or goofing up?
Well, when we talk about 80% and I really don't think it's 80, I think it's 100% of us. 100%, but 80% of us go to the physician or go to a physical therapist or go to a chiropractor because of back pain. Most of that is low back pain. And the last 5 of these segments are part of your lumbar spine.
Okay.
All right, the middle part of your back is your thoracic spine. Okay. That's where your ribs attach to. And then the upper part is your cervical spine. Okay. And but the majority of the injuries are here, because this is a weight-bearing part. We bear all the weight of our whole body, and then the other part is here. We bear the weight of our head and our cervical spine. So those are the 2 areas that I think of the thoracic spine. The numbers are about 8% of people we treat are coming in for an area, because your ribs attach, they don't move as much. And they're not weight bearing as much as these are. They're taking care of all this weight. So we make sure, like any joint, we want to make sure you have good range of motion and that you have good strength in those areas. And obviously, if you have pain, we have to address that. So that's the first thing we do, is try to find a way to decrease your pain right off the bat. And usually we can show people what they need to do to start healing. We don't heal them. They heal, their body heals, but we have to put them in a good position to heal.
I never once have heard you say, I wrote them a prescription for medicine to make them feel better.
Yeah.
Do you ever write prescriptions?
We don't write prescriptions, no. We utilize that. Our prescription is going to be exercise. It's going to be, our prescription is going to be posture. It's going to be not moving. The bed rest for back pain, there are very few instances where it's acceptable, and it only is acceptable for about 24 hours. And after that, moving is better. Your discs like you to move. They don't like you staying in one position too long. And so going for a walk, I heard you talking about cycling, getting moving, and we try to get people moving as quickly as we can when they're having issues like this, but safely.
Okay. A question came through your piece. Do you use massage therapy? Is that part of anything?
We are trained in massage as well. We do utilize, especially in some instances in the shoulder, we'll use cross-friction massage and things like that to try to help break up scar tissue on a tendon. And also, if there's someone who's post-surgical, we will use a massage to try to do that. When I'm treating my back and necks, there is definitely some soft tissue work that we will do as well. So you'll see us working on trigger point massage, which are small areas where you tend to get a lot of tightness and a lot of pain. And there are times when I'll refer patients to massage therapists for a more generalized massage, or even more specific, if that's going to be part of their care that I think is going to help them achieve their goals.
We're both pretty tall guys, and all my life I've had issues with my back. And probably a good half dozen times, I would have done what the old timers would say, I threw my back out. What is that?
Yeah.
And what actually happens? I mean, obviously, my back is still there, but I mean, what does that mean?
Sure. And when you hear the term, you also hear the term slip disc.
Yes.
Yeah. Those terms, we hear a lot of terms. And those are very generic terms. You'll see, we've all seen someone bent forward and shifted at some point when they have that. Those are typical disc injuries. All right. A disc is this area between the vertebrae. We have the vertebrae is a bone, the bony part, and the disc is made up of a fibrous two areas.
Like a cushy thing?
It's a bit of a cushion. It's actually made up of this fibrous outside like an onion with a gel middle that I always refer to as consistency of mayonnaise. And so
I didn't know that.
Well, the disc is actually really, really healthy and thick when we're 17 years old. All right? And then as we get older, it gets more fibrous and more narrow.
Okay.
And then we lose a little bit of motion. And so the disc is right next to the nervous system.
Oh, that's right. It's running right through there.
Yeah, and as the spinal cord and the nerve roots that come off of the spinal cord go right through, when that disc gets inflamed and irritated, it starts to irritate that, usually the nerve root, off on one side or the other, and people shift away. And they shift forward because that opens up the canal where the nerve is, and that takes their pain away. But if you don't address that, you're going to have someone that's bent forward. And we also see this with people that develop stenosis, which is a narrowing of
I'm glad you
these
said it
areas.
because I wrote stenosis down right here.
Yeah, the stenosis is a narrowing both of the opening where the nerve root comes out and sometimes where the spinal cord is.
Oh boy.
Spinal stenosis and intervertebral, interforaminal stenosis. And you'll see people with the shopping cart where they lean on that cart and they walk through the grocery store with that and they like to bend forward.
That's usually me crying with my wife when she's filling up the basket and I got to carry it all.
But that opens up, that makes them feel more comfortable.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
I see a lot of people doing that.
But it's not a good way to go.
Okay.
And we want to try to stay tall.
I see people with stenosis a lot of time, they're shuffling, the old Tim Conway look, where they're shuffling their feet because they're having a little trouble making everything work together, right?
Yeah, well, when you start to get some stenosis and there's some pressure on the nerve roots that can be, when they get up tall, that starts to pinch their nervous system. And so then they start to lose strength and they can lose control and they can develop things like neuropathy, which is a loss of feeling and sensation in their feet. And so then they shorten their stride and their balance decreases and there's...
It's like a snowball effect,
yeah.
right? Oh boy.
So it's important to address it.
Okay. So sometimes people say their pelvis slipped out. What does that mean?
It's typically what happens is the back here is your tailbone. I'm going to tilt this a little bit.
Sure.
The tailbone is right through here, and your pelvis, it connects to your tailbone at your SI joint, your sacroiliac joint, through here and here. And there is some motion there. And typically, the women that typically complain of this are often during pregnancy. They have SI pain.
Oh yeah, that's just stretching them.
Well, there's a hormone in their body that causes their joints to relax a bit, and so that obviously for childbirth they need their pelvis needs to become more opened. And when they have that hormone in their system, there's a bit of laxity in these ligaments, and they can develop pain. And often we'll put a belt that helps secure their pelvis, and an SI belt, and it tightens that and gives them a feeling of relief. There are some percentage of back pain that that have SI problems. There's also, there's other things that can cause back pain, including medical issues that we have to screen for, and sometimes it's a muscle issue. There's specific muscles that go right by. We have a large nerve. You've heard of sciatica.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and this is your sciatic notch right through here, and you can see how large that nerve is, and so that when a disc is irritating that nerve up here, we can get symptoms of sciatica. But there's also a muscle that crosses through here that can also irritate it called your piriformis.
Oh yeah. About 3 months ago, I bent over, just doing something, and I heard something slip in my back, and it was like white lightning before my eyes, and that was the most excruciating pain I'd ever experienced. So there's obviously some movement in there, and it hit a nerve, or
and I would say most likely it's a disc irritating the nerve root, and that nervous system pain is special pain, and it's excruciating. But other things can cause it, including the facet joints, which are other joints that are in there. But those are when someone is a forward bend. When you bend and you do it, that puts a lot of pressure on the back of the disc. So typically that's the case, but you have to evaluate each person that comes in, put them through you take a look at what happens when you bend, what happens when you extend. One of the things people will say to us is, I haven't had an MRI. Do I need an MRI before I can come to therapy? And the answer is, most cases, no. If there's not trauma, or if I'm not seeing indications that would raise red flags for me, I would say most of these problems are very explainable when movement testing. And once we do the movement testing, we're very comfortable in a diagnosis. And then if you're a surgical consideration, then an MRI is appropriate.
Okay. A question came through again. So in my case, I went to a chiropractor, and everything got realigned. And of course, with the suggestion of stretching and exercise and so forth. So when you said you recommend exercise, is it swimming? Is it walking? What kinds of things do you recommend? Depends on the situation.
Well, it depends on the situation. When we evaluate the issue, we're trying to make sure we take pressure off the tissue that's trying to heal. So we have to find an exercise. We need to find exercises that don't put pressure on the injury, but also help build strength around that injury.
Gotcha.
So it's very specific, and sometimes these are. It's not gym class. We're not having you do jumping jacks and things like that.
Right.
But we are trying to get pressure off that, and sometimes it's recovering the range of motion in the lumbar spine. Any joint needs to be able to move through its motion. So.
Okay, so in my case, I went to a chiropractor. Chiropractor manipulates movement of bones and alignment. You don't manipulate, I'm guessing?
Chiropractic manipulation is an end range thrust. All right, so they take you to end range and then they apply the pressure. Typically, with physical therapy, we're going to allow that patient to apply the pressure. Okay. So we're going to do it. It is also called a grade 5 mobilization. And physical therapists cannot do chiropractic manipulation. Physical therapists can do grade 5 mobilization, and they are and that noise that you get when you have a chiropractor, that pop, that is called cavitation, and that is actually the pressure inside the disc equalizing to the pressure outside the disc of a joint. And when that happens, you get a release of that little pop, and there's a certain amount of pain reduction from that. And then you start moving, and moving's actually what gets you to do it. But there are many chiropractors that utilize manipulation or a device that helps achieve that, and then they implement a program to help keep you better. And so we do it from a different perspective, but the type of patients that we see, especially back patients, is very similar.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we did a little comparison of those two areas. So since you, in your business, you have occupational therapy, and your wife is probably watching and says, don't forget her. So what is occupational therapy versus these other things?
Sure, we have actually, my wife is a pediatric occupational therapist.
For little kids.
And for little kids. And she has, her background is at Our Lady of Victory Infant Home, as well as Buffalo Children's, before she became part of the practice here. And so she really, we contract with the Chautauqua Department of Health, and we provide early intervention services that's 0 to 3.
Right.
And we also see patients 3 to 5 through the preschool, through different school districts. But so occupational therapy and physical therapy are very different when you're working with this population. And a lot of times we're looking at developmental milestones, helping these kids, sometimes kids that are born with diagnosis of Down syndrome, sometimes
cerebral palsy,
spina bifida, right. And sometimes just developmental delay. You know, there's no specific diagnosis. And we're trying to help educate the parents and help the kids achieve it. So in the pediatric side, my wife works with feeding. She works with a lot of the preemie kids in Chautauqua County she sees, and that's almost a different field. But we have 2 occupational therapists and a speech therapist that's their focus of their practice, is that age group.
In my field, I was a special ed teacher, and I worked with children with disabilities, every disability I could think of, and the OT would come in and work with, like you said, feeding, maybe finding a special way to have a spoon or dressing skills and things like that.
Yep. And
then I remember the physical therapist would be out there stretching the kiddos and doing little things. But I digress because we have a phone call. Would you like to take a call?
Sure.
All right. Good morning, caller.
Well, good morning, Doc, and good morning, Dr. Green. It's great to see you on the phone and to hear about these great measures of therapy to help us live more comfortable lives. I wanted to just quickly say that we have services with the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging and the Senior Employment Program, and I am looking for people, and we're getting ready to put more people on in our different positions.
When are you going to open up? I mean, we've gone to a new phase. Are you guys ready to take on people?
We're having a meeting next week. Okay. We can't do any face-to-face contacts yet. I've been working with the participants of the program continually, by phone and by email, but we haven't been allowed to see anybody yet.
Lynn, anybody in your family, like a particular singer, dancer that we might know? Maybe your grandson Nick, does he ever go to a physical therapist for all that gyration he does on stage?
I don't know if he does or not.
He's with the Backstreet Boys.
I bet he does. Yeah? I bet he does.
I bet.
Yeah.
But there are many physical therapists that work specifically with dancers, and it's almost a specialty on its own.
I bet.
Because they twist and all of that. Yeah. I noticed that when I dance, I get a little achy after I'm finished. I never had that problem when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great to have physical therapy. Swimming is a great exercise, isn't it?
It is. It's a great exercise because it helps strengthen your muscles, good for your cardiovascular system, and it keeps you moving. But people will often ask me, what's the best exercise? And it's the one that you're doing, all right? So if you like to swim, swim. If you like to cycle, get on your bike and do those things. There are some benefits to resistive training that is some weights, because that helps build bone mass as well as muscle mass. And you don't necessarily get as much of that. You still get some from swimming. You just don't get as much of that bone development as you get in that.
But the stretching is good, isn't it? It always feels good to go swimming.
It feels good to go swimming, and then gentle stretching afterwards, and gentle flexibility stuff is always good for us. It helps keep us athletic. And all my patients, I try to convince them they're still athletes, even if you're 90. I had a 90-year-old patient, and I said, what sports did you used to play? And she said, I played basketball, and she played basketball back when women weren't allowed to cross half court, and I had her doing defensive drills and doing all those things along with a rail. Yeah. She held onto a railing, and she loved it. So it was a good way.
I love basketball.
Good.
Not to be on a team, but just to throw the basket.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great exercise. Yeah.
Good.
Well, have a wonderful Father's Day, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Father's Day. And the number to call at the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging for senior employment and other senior services in Mayville is 753-4471.
Okay, Lynn. Hey, thanks for calling in.
Okay. Have a wonderful Father's Day and
Thanks.
weekend.
All right, you take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. This is almost unprecedented. We have a second caller. So well, let's hear from the second caller. Good morning, caller.
Hi.
Hi.
Is this Doc?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Judy.
Doc. This is Judy Gerke. Hi, Pat.
Hi, Judy. How are you?
I'm good. I want you both to know that I'm using really good posture right now.
I keep sitting up the whole time I'm with you. I go, I gotta get better at this. So how are we doing? Are we doing good?
We are doing great. I appreciate the interview. I did want to throw a couple of additional things in, things that haven't been talked about yet.
Who's the boss? That's what I want to know. Who's the real boss here? She's checking up on us. Okay, go for it.
All right. We do have a very talented woman in our practice.
Mm-hmm.
She is a specialist in ladies' pelvic health.
Ooh.
And all of our younger therapists do a great job with vertigo. And that's one thing that so many people don't realize that we treat. And I know Pat had mentioned it, but it's really kind of a big one. And people that have vertigo don't know where to turn. And I'd really like to make sure they understand that we are a great first source to come in and get treated with the horrible vertigo. Yuck. The other thing I would say is physical therapy and occupational therapy are one of the most cost-effective approaches in the healthcare system. So we would like to be considered as a first choice because not only is somebody going to feel better sooner, but it's more cost-effective. So it's kind of a win-win.
Well, I'll have you both talking here. How does somebody get to you? Do they have to be referred? Sure. How's that work?
We often are, many of our patients are referred to us from primary care physicians or specialists, but patients don't have to be referred. In New York State, we refer to it as direct access, but what that means is the patient can just call our office, and you have to, we can schedule an appointment for an evaluation, and then we can see them for 30 days or 10 visits. And if we still think they need to have a referral to their primary care, we stay in communication with their physician that whole time. And then we just contact their primary care, and usually and let them know, and then they send us a prescription. Most insurances cover this. Medicare covers a large portion of it, and usually the secondary covers it all if they have a secondary.
We're down to about a minute and 50 seconds, so how do they get a hold of you?
Well, we're located in, like I said, Jamestown and in Mayville, and we're opening up in Dunkirk on July 6th. Our primary number, which will get a hold of you and we'll schedule you at any office, is 716-488-2322. And then we're also at www.chautauquapt.com is our website. But we are always trying to be there to help schedule patients, get them on the schedule, getting a therapist to evaluate them. I didn't do a great job of telling you about our occupational therapists in our clinic. They treat our hands and elbow and shoulders. A lot of that. Our PTs also treat shoulders, but they really specialize in that upper extremity, that fine motor, as well as cognitive, and they still do dressing and some other stuff, but really the hand is so complex, it's great to have them focus on that.
Okay, so we're down to less than a minute now, Pat. So, folks, you've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise. My guest has been Dr. Pat Green, and I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds or so. Tell us about physical therapy and why they should come see you.
Well, so many of our patients are dealing with pain, and they come to us and they say, I wish I had come sooner, or I've been dealing with this for years, and they're surprised in 2 or 3 visits how significantly different they feel and how they don't have to live with it. So come and learn about your problem, learn what you can do different in your life, and sometimes it's very basic. When you get that range back, when you get that mobility back, you get so much freedom back in your life.
Okay, one more time, the phone number?
716-488-2322.
Thanks for coming in. This has been a lot of fun. I really learned a lot today, especially about throwing out my back. Anyways, folks, you've been watching the show. I hope you enjoyed it. And, you know, we've just about run out of time, I think. Is that true? Yeah, there's the music. That's how I always know. So have a great Father's Day, all you guys out there. Enjoy the summer weather and be careful when you're stretching in that garden because everybody's overdoing it right now because of the great weather. Have a great weekend. Be safe. And if you do get any kinks in the back, see Pat. All right? Take care, and we'll see you all next week. We're going to do it all again right here on channel 1301, Access Chautauqua, 9 a.m. Take care. Bye-bye.